Everybody, Michael Hellickson here with Club Wealth, and I am so excited. We have Ken Crotts from Kent, Washington with us today. Ken is an awesome agent. He's killing it. We're going to chat with him about where he came from, how he got doing what he's doing, how his success has just grown tremendously, and where he's going from here. We got a lot of stuff to chat with him about today, so we're going to get right into it. Ken, welcome to Club Wealth.
Well, thank you for having me, Mike. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely, man. Super glad to have you on. So, hey, let's start with this, Ken. So, how long have you been selling real estate?
My 30th anniversary is coming up on April 27th. So,
oh my gosh,
30
years selling real estate. So, how was it in the beginning? I mean, did you have a family member that was in real estate? Were you doing something else before?
I was a young man working at United Parcel Service. I was 23, and I always kind of had this hankering to do real estate since I'd been in construction too. And I just went and got my license and signed up. I was 23, had no money, and just an ambition to start with real estate. And back then, there were no cell phones, there were no computers. It was all done with these weekly books that were published. They looked like little phone books, and that's how we did real estate.
I remember the big books. Oh my gosh, that's funny. That's hilarious. So, there's a few people that can relate, I'm sure. So when you got into real estate, how was it at first? I mean, were you instantly successful? Did you struggle? What did it look like?
I started with the company that I'm at now, and very dynamic, a great owner, and they put me in front of a coal reverse directory, which is, by address, you can look up phone numbers, and they just said, start calling. So I started calling. I would come to work and call and make appointments and go out on appointments. And I started very early working on the phones.
Yeah. And how did that go for you at first? I mean, did you have a house?
Yeah, well, I was 23. I can't believe anybody bought a house from me when I was 23. I really didn't know anything, but that was quite the experience.
That's awesome. Okay,
yeah.
So you struggled at first. How long did it take you before you started putting some transactions together?
I think 3 months before I really put together a deal. And second or third year, I was part of a top team. Me and a fellow agent named Avo Nazarian, we teamed up and we got top team back in the day, and that was really kind of impetus for me to keep going and to keep working hard.
Okay, first of all, I got to put the caveat out there, everybody. Ken and I are actually in the same market, so I live about 20 minutes from where Ken lives, and it's funny you mentioned Avo Nazarian. I haven't heard that name for years, but I totally remember Avo. That's hilarious. He was bigger than life, man.
Yeah.
So you were on Avo's team. That's awesome.
Yeah, Avo and I were partners.
Oh, that's hilarious. Good for you. Okay, so you got going with the team, and how'd that go at first? I mean, was it just an instant, wow, this is great, it's working really well, or was the team dynamic different
really,
for you?
That's a long time ago, but my most distinct memory as part of the team, we did well. We were taking listings, and my most distinct memory was when Avo and I were together on a listing appointment, and I was packing up, ready to go. They said no, and he just kept closing and closing and closing and closing. We got the listing, and that was like a big eye-opener for me that, if you just stick to your guns and stay on course with your presentation, more often than not, you get the listing.
Yeah. That's interesting you mentioned that. I remember John Schlonbush, John.
Yeah.
And I remember I had this listing years ago. This was, 20 years ago. And I had a very similar situation happen where, I had a listing that was about to expire. I knew I was going to lose it anyway. So I thought, well, better to get half than nothing. So I called John up, had him come out. He did a listing presentation with me in the room. And man, I got to tell you, I watched him over and over and over again. Resolve, concern, close. Resolve, concern, close. And he just kept doing that over and over again. Finally, he got him signed, and it was a done deal. And he ended up selling, and he got him to reduce the price.
Yeah, there's a bulldog's persistence to keep at it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they want to list with you, but you've got to go through the fire to get to their yes.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It's funny. I always like the phrase, I got to be a pit bull on the pant leg of opportunity. And I would say you're that guy. You have become that guy. You're pretty tenacious, aren't you?
Yeah, we don't quit. We don't quit. I've got a great team, and I've got a lot of people counting on me to get in there and get those listings because they're getting paid when I get paid, and so it's a lot more responsibility. But also, Saul, the owner of our company, says, we're really high-paid educators. And a lot of times people are saying no because they don't know. It's not that, if they don't understand what the benefits of having a professional agent negotiate your transaction and cover it with insurance and fully expose it to the market, if they don't understand what the benefits are and they're saying no, then you haven't done your job. You have to keep educating them on the process.
Yep. That's right. And by the way, just by way of disclosure, let's tell people kind of what is your current production. So last year, what did you close last year?
We closed 78 transactions last year, all told.
Okay. So 78 transactions. I'm going to guess that was around probably $650,000 in commissions, somewhere in that range.
That's about 570.
570. Okay, whatever. For most people, that's still awesome. That's great. Okay, so 78 transactions, about 570 in commissions. That's helpful because that gives people a little bit of a reference for who you are and what your production level is. Okay, so you went from being on or partners with Avo, and that partnership obviously did not last forever. So at what point did you decide, hey, it's time for me to go do my own thing?
I think when I started listening to a local trainer a trainer out of California, and he was saying, get on the phone and use these scripts and follow the system and it'll work. And I listened to his tapes over and over and over again. You really, until he started sounding just like me. That's the thing. I learned that repetition is a real valid form of learning. I just listened to these tapes over and over and over. The first time it's like, geez, what's this guy saying? The second time, it's like, well, he's kind of making some sense. Then third or fourth time it's like, gosh, that guy's got some really good ideas. And fifth time it's like, gosh, he sounds just like me. and once you get to that point, it's sunk in and you've internalized the system, and then it becomes really very natural.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. It's funny because people always ask me, well, Michael, do you have some great scripts or anything like that? And yeah, we have plenty of scripts, but the reality is it's not about the script. It's about learning how to sound natural and how to go through a conversation that guides people to the result that you're trying to get them to in a natural way.
Right. The script has to be you. Because right. if you're practicing a script on somebody and you're thinking about what to say next, then you're thinking that you can't overcome the conversation in your head. So you have to get good enough to where it becomes part of your natural conversation and you can listen to the client. And that's right. Once you got it down well enough to where you can really listen to the person that you're talking to and help address their needs, that's when it starts really working.
That's right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. Okay, good. So that's awesome. So you did that. You went out on your own. You started doing your own thing, started making a bunch of FSBO and expired calls and having some success. And so at what point did you start deciding, man, I got to take this to the next level. I got to hire an assistant. I got to develop a team. At what point? And what point were you married when you first got into the business, or did you get married sometime in the interim?
We met at the office.
Met at the office.
We were an office romance, and got married in 1989, and have been married ever since. In real estate I haven't been fully in real estate for 30 years. I stayed in real estate, but I had a couple of forays during the .com era into .com mortgage, and just before the boom, I was in Montana developing land. So I've had some forays into other ventures, always real estate related. But I've always been a broker and always been and that's always been the foundation of our business. But I ventured out here and there. And after the last one, I came home from Montana, a little beat up from the market, and I said, I'm going to become the best agent I can be. And we've really taken off from there. And that's really where we started building our team. Okay, so when you got married, you mean? No, after we came back from Montana. No, Marie and I have been together, for 27 years, 28 years in there. Yeah, it's been a long time, and she's been with me the whole time. So really, functionally, there's really never been any real estate without me and Marie being together. Okay, so let's talk about that dynamic for just a minute. So how are your roles different? Because
a lot of people are wondering right now, well, how have you managed to stay married and be working together? So tell us about
Yeah, that's a real challenge. We both worked out of the house together for a long time, and that's really challenging being together 24/7. Right now, I'm in my shop in a nice office that we built in our shop, and she's in the house. We have our separation. She knows, transaction management and her end of the business hands down. So you just have to work through the challenges, and you're going to have them as a husband and wife team. But boy, there's nobody you can trust. There's nobody you can hire that you would trust like your wife with your business.
Right.
And for us, it really works well because she handholds people and just loves them to death, and really makes sure she does everything to get the transaction closed. And I'm more out there prospecting and meeting with people, doing a Jerry Maguire thing in everybody's living rooms, doing presentations, and I love being out doing that. So we have really distinctly different roles, and I think we are both personality-wise suited individually to each one of those. So it works out well that way. And a marriage takes work, whether you're working together or not. It's just an added layer.
No, you're right. Absolutely. It's interesting to hear you say that, because what I'm hearing is, hey, Michael, we've got two very different job descriptions. I don't mess with her stuff. She doesn't mess with my stuff. I stay out of her hair. She stays out of my hair. We do our own thing, and together we make it work. Yeah,
exactly.
That's huge, because too often, I see where people are a husband and wife team, and they're both, a high D on the disc profile, for example. They're both trying to run the business. It's like you can't have both of you run the business. One person's got to run the business. One person's got to run the office, and one person's got to be, very focused on being out in the field, and one's going to be in the office. And so, as you learn to set those boundaries, and you learn what each other is best at, and you learn to focus just on that, and you give her the benefit of the doubt on the things that she's doing, and she gives you the benefit of the doubt on what you're doing.
Right.
It works. But
you're both looking at our goals are all both the same. And I think one of the biggest things for agents to get their head around, one of the biggest challenges they have in growing their business, is to let go of control.
Right.
We tend to be control freaks and want to manage and micromanage every aspect of the business. And I'll tell you what, it's very liberating when you finally say, hey, it's okay to have somebody else handle a part of the transaction, whether it's my wife or somebody else on my team handling something, to let them go and handle it, and realize I would always do it a little different. But the fact that they're doing it and getting it done frees me up to do what is my highest purpose in the business, and that is to prospect and present.
That's right. Well, and that's where the money's at. The way you make the most money possible is by focusing your time, effort, and energy on lead generation, lead follow-up, and lead conversion. Exactly. Those are the things you've got to do. Everything else you should be letting everybody else do. And so being focused on those things matters. So
it does. Yeah, it's surprising how much work it is to grow a business, but man, I love doing my part of it, and that's the part I love to do. And having a team, working with me to prospect, to do follow-ups, my prospecting, transaction managing, somebody else negotiating short sales, leave me free to go meet the people, to meet the folks out there in the field, and help solve their problems. That's where I live, and that's where I love to be. And so everything we do is really designed to keep me out in front, which is where I belong.
That's right. Absolutely. That's absolutely. And frankly, you need to stay out of their hair. And that's one of the other things that I know you've been working on. We've been talking about doing the daily team huddles. Tell me a little bit about that, how that's been going for you.
Well, we have a lot of communication amongst the team. We haven't been doing the team huddles per se. I think at our last meeting, we worked out the schedule to where we'll have the team meeting every morning, and we really have one now. My daughter has joined our team, Kirsten, so she's a welcome addition, and Paul has just joined us. And it's fun because they literally come to our house and fix breakfast. And so I'm already done. I'm ready to go by the time they show up at 7:30. And while they're cooking breakfast, we're having those conversations. So we're having our little team huddles every day. Yeah. It's not as formal as like a conferencecall.com, but you know what? they can bring up things that they have questions about that they know they're going to be working on. I can give them direction. They can give me direction. I mean, that's a big part of it. Remember to call them and remember to do that. And those communications early in the morning before you get started every day are really, really good.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my team huddle. It's not quite the same way you had set it yours up with a conference call, but we're all together in the same house and everybody's cooking breakfast and breaking bread. So that's a really great thing. And I frankly enjoy it.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing feedback from you once you take that to that next level and have your lenders on that call and your buyers, or even if you have to put it on speaker while you guys are making breakfast or whatever. I would really love to hear some feedback on having the lenders and having your buyers agents available to have those conversations as well, because one of the things that I know a lot of team leaders suffer from, and I'm curious if you feel like you've suffered from this a little bit too, is we're all kind of like seagulls, right? We like to fly around and we swoop down in and we land on the shoulder of our team members and we crap all over them and then we fly off. Okay. I mean, maybe you don't do that. I don't know. I know I'm guilty of it, but
yeah.
I think that ever happened?
Yeah, well. That happens.
Yeah.
And sometimes they ask me for help, and I give a little bit more than I should.
Yeah. Well,
but, that happens.
Yeah. And so, that's one of the things that team huddle, we really want to use to kind of rein a lot of that in and help be a little bit more efficient and effective with our teams and have them stop using us as a crutch so much. Because that's really hard. And that plagues most teams. I would say that the vast majority of teams out there suffer from some level of inefficiency because the team members are coming to the team member or the team leader constantly asking for advice on things that frankly they probably could have figured out on their own. Or we are as team leaders are giving them instruction and they're not carrying that through and making that what we would call completed staff work.
Right.
Yeah.
That is a constant struggle. In fact, last week I put a door on my office.
Yes.
But it's all part, every time you give them some help and guidance, if you have a good team member, they're picking that up and they're learning how you would handle it. So, a lot of times, they have the desire to do it right. And with the right team members, and if you give them the authority to make decisions and support them in their decisions when they make them, and give them the guidance as they require it, I believe that they'll continue to grow more and more independent and more capable along the way. My team's fairly new. I've had some turnover. So my daughter Doreen joined us about 6 months ago, and Paul just joined us 3 weeks ago. And Marie, of course, been with me forever. Len, my buyer's agent, has been with us for 5 years. So. Yeah, it's interesting, and I really enjoy having the team much more so than being a lone ranger. I just can't even imagine how an individual agent can really compete against just the raw number of man hours that a team brings to the table in terms of being able to produce marketing and respond to inquiries and to process and be there to answer calls on every transactional issue that comes up. I have no idea how they can do it. Or at least they can do it and compete without sticking to single digits in a year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's funny because I was just having that same conversation with David Serpa this morning, where, there's a coach out there, a well-known, and I won't mention his name because I don't want to embarrass Tom, but, he's putting out there, he said, it's all about teams now. And, and all of a sudden it's all about teams. It's like, brother, I got news for you. It's been about teams for about the last 10 years. Like this isn't something new. This is what's been going on. And a lot of people are just now starting to figure that out. And the reality is that the industry's consolidating. It's essentially, if you're not on a team, you're getting run over by one. I mean, that's very difficult to compete. Like I say, you have the issue of man hours and ability and availability with the team. That's right.
But you also have to fight against the budget issue. When you have a team and you're knocking out a lot of transactions, you have a bigger budget in order to produce and marketing and to produce and maintain leading edge technologies and to really compete on a level that as individual agents can't. And but on the other hand, as a team, you have to keep pushing the boundary. I mean, I'll spend $10,000 or $20,000 developing a tool, and it'll only get me in a year and a half to 2 years worth of advantage before my broker gives it to the whole office for free.
Right.
The good news is the whole office, not everybody in the office will use it. So
that's true.
We're constantly pushing the boundaries, whether it's using drones or HDR photography or the internet. I mean, it's all new technologies are constantly emerging. And I think you have to, as a team leader, stay on top of what's happening and keep pushing. And the other thing about a team is it's not just about adding bodies. It's about efficiency. You have to be efficient as an individual agent. Boy, you really have to doubly be efficient. So everybody on my team has two 27-inch screens and current computer systems and cell phones and tools to make them the most efficient they can be. And I think that's really important. You want your team members to be working as effectively as they can. And technology is so cheap these days that use a computer hand to your brand new assistant is just a sin.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I got to jump in. As you're talking, I'm hearing the bell ringing in the background, and you and I both know what that means, but I want you to tell everybody else, what does it mean when they hear the bell go off in the background?
I have my perfect daily schedule, and I have it set up so that every time I'm supposed to be doing something, that thing dings. I mean, from the time I get up in the morning to the time when it dings, I need to be at the gym. When it dings again, I'm done working out. When it dings again, I'm eating and showering. And staying on schedule is having a day routine and a daily schedule that's consistent is really important. That's right. Once it becomes a habit, your productivity will grow without really putting any additional effort into it. It's just a habit only takes a month or a month and a half to really establish. And but I like having that little ding going off on my phone because it tells me it's like, okay, it's time to do that, and off you go.
Yeah, the perfect daily schedule is huge, and if you're following it, if you've designed it properly, and you've designed it in such a way that if you followed it would force you to succeed, then it really is just a matter of just follow it. Just make it a habit, and success follows. So, yeah, that's good stuff. Now, are you also using a bell in the office for when your team members set an appointment and that sort of thing? I know you've got
we've ordered a gong. We've ordered a gong.
Gotcha.
Now, we do have a big red lighted LED sign that is up and ever present to keep track of how many listings we've taken. So every meeting, every Wednesday we have a meeting, and at that meeting we get to push that button and it makes a big loud tone and the numbers go up, and it's just good and motivational, and it keeps reminding you of why we're here. We're here to get those numbers up and help as many people as possible.
I love that. I'm going to see while we're talking here, I'm going to see if I can't just grab that real quick, show it to everybody. I love that thing, man. That thing is awesome.
Yeah. We're thinking about getting two more. One list, buyer sales, closed listings, and listings taken.
Here it is. Watch this. I've got it here. Here we go. Hold on. I got to put this up there. I'm going to show my screen. I'm going to share this thing with everybody. This thing is awesome. I hope that people take a look at this. Hang on one second. That is right there. Can you see that on your screen, Ken?
No. Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Love that thing. So, and it really is true. And by the way, some people are like, now serving listing number 23. Oh my gosh, that seems like a lot. So often, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So often people get kind of artificial ceilings imposed on themselves. They think that there's only so much they can do, and to have 23 listings is just unheard of and unbelievable. And what are your thoughts on that?
It's part of your goals. For me, with the team I have a team of 5, a buyer's agent, an inside salesperson, an inside marketing person, and a transaction manager. And our goal is it's 4x4. It's real simple. Everybody's bought into it. That means I work 4 days a week in the business and take 4 listings a week. And if I go on 2 appointments a day and I'm only hitting 50%, that's 4 listings a week. So it's not that hard. It's just a numbers game.
Okay.
It takes so many dials to get a contact, so many contacts to get a lead, so many leads to get an appointment, so many appointments to get a listing. And you can throw that all into an Excel spreadsheet, and that's what you need to do. Then you can set your goal or your number for whatever you want. I want 4 listings a week. So I know that we need to spend X number of hours on the phone and have X number of leads coming in. So, yeah,
let's talk about that for a minute. So let's get real specific and talk about who are you calling and what, and are you buying any leads from any sources? But first, start with who are you calling?
Okay, I've always called expireds. I did expireds almost exclusively forever. And then last year, somebody said, hey, mix it up a little bit. It gets boring just calling one thing. So I started calling for sale by owners. And we started killing it with for sale by owners and expireds. And I've, during the crash, I called a lot of notice of trustee sales, anybody that was delinquent. We still call NODs. So there's so many numbers out there, you'll never call them all. So I call expireds, for sale by owners, notices of default, reluctant landlords, for rent signs. If somebody got for rent sign out, give them a call. They may be renting because they couldn't sell or didn't know what to do. We call around our listings for just listed, just sold. And just with those numbers right there, I mean, you could call all day, every day, and never get close to tapping into all of them.
Right.
And I think you have to be flexible too. Right now, expireds are a little thin. For sale by owners are selling, so we're tapping into other resources.
Okay, so for example, what? Say that again.
It changes with the market.
Yeah, it does. So you said you're tapping into some other sources. What sources are you tapping into? I know one of them is Leads Like Candy, right?
Yeah, we do Leads Like Candy. I was an early adopter with Zillow, but I've pulled back from that because their return on investment has gone down pretty dramatically compared to where we started at. But we do get a few leads out of Zillow. I get referrals. My past client database we get referrals out of. And there are a few referral sources here and there that you can sign up for and pay for. And Dave Ramsey is a valid referral source. I think you have to just kind of all of the above type of strategy. If you can sign up for something and then it will maintain itself without you having to spend a lot of time in it, where you're just taking your time to manage the client and help them achieve their real estate goals, and that's a good lead source. Any lead source that requires you to spend a lot of time taking care of it is one that is stealing away from your business more than giving.
It's interesting you mentioned that because so many agents, I was on one of the Facebook groups here recently, and there was an agent that was saying they were going to cancel a particular lead source because it wasn't getting them enough return on their investment. They thought that they could get better ROI on a different lead source, so they were going to cancel lead source A to go try lead source B. And my initial reaction was kind of, is that really what you want to do? Because here you've got a lead source that's working. It's not taking your personal time. You've got your team dealing with that primarily. I mean, it's taking very little of the agent's time. Why are we not just adding lead source B instead of getting rid of A to go try B when we know A is actually working? And maybe it's only a 3, 4, and 3 is on the lower side, but maybe it's a 4 or a 5 or a 6 ROI. That's still good ROI. It's not the 8, 10 that we'd like to see, and we've even got lead sources that we've got people getting as much as 25% on. But from your standpoint, Ken, it sounds like you're saying that, hey, look, if it's paying off, if I'm getting ROI on it, and I don't have to spend a lot of my personal time on it, it's worth keeping and just adding to that. Is that accurate?
Yeah, well, it's a business decision, and you have to assess it as such. So if you've got 30 lead sources and you can only handle 20, you're going to drop to 10 least productive.
Right.
So I think the answer to that question is relative to that individual's business.
Yeah.
They have to decide if they're at capacity and they can't take on any more, but they could have an opportunity to take on a higher ROI lead source, take it on.
Right.
And that's where the comment towards maintenance costs and maintenance time are the two things that you have to really assess your lead sources from. Mm-hmm. How much time and energy does it take, and how much is it going to cost? And I'll tell you what, the lead sources that have recurring monthly costs are the ones that cost the most.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you look at what it costs per year for any lead source, not what it costs a month.
Well, and then you've got to look at what's the ROI. I mean, I'll give you an example.
What's it producing?
Yeah, I mean, I could care less if I'm spending $20,000 on a lead source, but I'm getting a 10 ROI on that. I'll spend 20 grand all day long. So I'll spend 40 if I can.
I'll spend 200, put a zero on it. If it's producing 10 ROI, I mean,
right.
Big borrow still to get that one. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. All right. So you had also mentioned, I'm taking notes as we're talking here. There's a couple other things you had mentioned. One, you were talking about you're making calls to for sale by owners and expireds. Are you doing any kind of mailing campaigns to FSBOs and expireds, or are you just pounding the phones?
Phones. Okay. Yeah. Again. Okay. So the mailings. Mm-hmm. There you go.
You've tried them in the past.
If you're going to do mailings, you've got to be there first. Otherwise, you just end up in a pile.
Right.
And how much time and energy and effort does it take to put together the presentation, print it out, get in the envelope, handwrite a note, put in a cookie recipe, do the do the envelope and everything, and drive it down to the post office. They'll say, "Oh, it only takes a few minutes." Well, that's not true. When you look at the actual amount of time it takes from development to delivery, that becomes, and it's logistically, it's very difficult if you're doing a lot of calls. You're going to send out 20 or 30 a day. If you're going to send them out, they need to be nice. So, so we don't do that because there's a lot more work involved in that.
Right.
And it's a really low numbers type of thing. Now, if you're an individual agent and your goals are such that you only need to hit a few, that fits within your daily schedule, no problem. We're trying to do a higher volume, so we have to be very judicious about what it is that we take on from that standpoint. And I'm very jealous with my time. I don't want to take on anything that doesn't take much staff time or my time. That's not going to produce. I mean, getting on the phone, when I get on the phone and have a conversation with a for sale by owner, and we start into the education process, that's bringing value. I mean, forget the mailers. Have the conversation.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And you do, and I love what you just said. You said you had to be, that you're jealous with your time, and you need to be. And so many agents are so willing to just give up their time. And it's funny because I think most agents, when it comes to mailers, particularly for FSBOs and expireds, I think what a lot of agents think is, well, I'll just mail it out. And they're using that as an excuse not to call. And
you feel like you're prospecting.
Yeah, exactly. But the reality is it's not anywhere near as effective as picking up the phone and dialing for dollars. And so,
well, what are you hoping to get when you send that stuff out? You're hoping to for them to call you,
right,
and to have a conversation. Why not just call them and have the conversation?
I agree 100%. Well, and here's the thing. If you're going to do mailers, like you said, to your point, don't let it take up a bunch of your time. We have companies, and for those of you that are watching this, if you're looking for a company that will do that, we have connections with companies that will literally create the mail out, send it out for, put the stamps on, do everything from start to finish. They'll figure out who to mail it to, all that. You don't have to do a thing except for write a check. And that's different because now it's ROI instead of time, right? The time is the big problem. So, okay, good stuff. Well, we're running out of time. We got about 5 minutes left, and I want to make sure I cover a couple other things. But that's huge, and I'm really glad to hear that. So we're totally on the same page there. So Ken, you also mentioned past clients and referral-based business. So let's talk about that for a moment and tell us a little bit about some of the moves that you've made in your business recently to expand that part of your business and how that's going for you.
We recently did, after almost 30 years, our first client appreciation event. So we rented out a movie theater. And it was a learning experience for us, but you know what? It was great because it forced us to get on the phone and call our clients, and it's a fun call because you're calling and offering to take them to the movies with popcorn and sodas. And it was a premiere for the Ascendant movie, so it was a first run movie. It was a good movie, and we had a lot of fun doing it. It was a lot of work, and we talked to a lot of clients. I think we'll be getting good business from it. Ideally, this is something that we'll continue to do, and our clients will now start looking to us for every good movie that comes out. We'll be renting the theater out and get a group that'll come on a regular basis. So
yeah.
You
hit the nail on the head, though. The magic isn't in the event itself. The magic is in the calls before and after the event. And tell me those conversations. How did those conversations go?
Which ones, before or after?
Well, both.
Well, the conversations are great. I mean, if you're on the phone with somebody, and it's not a sales pitch, you're calling to invite them to come down to a movie with big plush chairs and have a good time. And naturally, real estate's always a topic of conversation. I'm not real salesy with them, but I do work it in there. So, if do you know of anybody that is thinking about buying or selling, we'd love to help them out. And that's about as far as we go.
Yeah.
But it's funny that they tend to bring it up before I do. Since I think since we're offering something of value, I believe that they're feeling like maybe they should offer me something back of value, which is good. And you want to have 4 to 5 touches before the movie, including phone calls, emails, confirmations, Facebook messages, all of that. And then you want to follow up and have the photograph. We took photos of everybody that came through and tagged them on Facebook. And you want to have that follow-up, too, to make sure that, you're putting it out there and sharing the love, so to speak, so people, the event becomes an event, so to speak.
Right.
Not an afternoon, 2-hour thing where you show up and glad hand and go home.
Right.
This isn't like the average open house. This is like the super open house where you prepare in advance and then show up on time and ready to go, and then you follow up afterwards. It's just, I think, good policy to do that.
That's huge. That's huge. Well, good for you. Well, Ken, what other thoughts do you have to share with folks before we wrap up today? What are, if you're talking to an agent out there, let's say you're talking to somebody who's maybe a tier 1 agent. They're doing, maybe 30, 40 transactions a year at best, and they're trying to break into tier 2. They want to start building their team and they're ready for that next step. What would your advice be?
Call Michael and get into Club Wealth coaching. I mean, real estate, there's really very little guidance when it comes to building a team.
Yeah.
And, you may, a lot of what I've learned, I had to learn the hard way on my own. And, I'll tell you what, having somebody who's already made the mistakes and can help steer you away from them is invaluable. I've been calling Michael for years as a resource. He just is a wealth of knowledge, no matter what it is. He's been there. He's been way bigger than I'll probably ever be. And so any problem that I have, he's been through. And I'll tell you what, that mentoring, that ability to just solve a problem is so valuable to us. And that's why I'm coaching with him. When I have a problem, I can call Michael or Tara or someone else on the team, and it's problem solved. And a lot of times it's resources. Who do you have to do this? Who do you have to do that? How do you do this? How do you do that? And they can just answer those questions and put a Trello card on your board, and next thing you know, you have a checklist to do everything from doing a client event to hiring an agent to hiring an assistant or whatever it is you need. So it really makes your business much more plug and play. So you just got to show up and do your part of it.
Well, I really appreciate that. I wasn't actually looking for a plug at that point, but I do appreciate that.
I mean, for me, it's when you start getting a team, you start managing, and it's all about problem solving. And we're problem solvers. We solve problems for our clients, but growing a team means solving problems with systems and people and client interactions and relationships. And so, man, I'm happy to take the shortcut and have somebody else who's been there, guide me through it rather than have to. I've beat my head against a wall for a long time. I've been at this for 30 years, and so I'm a little bit of a slow learner. So, the lesson is set deep. Hire a good coach and do what they tell you to do.
Well, that's awesome. I really appreciate you for saying that. That's really nice of you. And I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lot of information out there on the internet. Just about anything you could ever imagine you want to learn about selling real estate, you could probably find on the internet. But the reality is there is no substitute for somebody who has been where you're trying to go. So if you're trying to make $1 million a year, they've been to $1 million a year. If you're trying to make $5 million a year, they've been to $5 million a year. Whatever your number is, they've been there. If you're trying to hire people, they've hired people. If you need to let somebody go, they've done that before. And there is no substitute for that, because it's really hard. There's a lot of people out there that want to give you advice about how to sell real estate. A lot. Unfortunately,
there are a lot of people that give you advice. And you know what? You want to listen to people who have been where you want to go. You really want to listen to people who've sold a lot of real estate if you want to learn how to sell a lot of real estate, right?
Okay. Well, I mean,
There's a lot of people that have it that are given free advice. I'm like, really? How many houses have you sold? Not many. Okay, well.
Sometimes that free advice is the most expensive kind.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, I have some really great role play partners that have been a part of my life for years, and they hold me accountable every week. As a small business owner, you don't have a boss that's telling you what to do. So you know what? Having somebody that has the chops to hold you accountable, and you have the chops to stick in there, even though they're kind of beating on you a little bit, is invaluable.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Shout out to my great role play partners too. They've changed my life.
It makes a difference. And by the way, if you're watching this, if you're a Club Wealth member and you're watching this, please reach out to your coach. And if you want to have a role play partner, reach out to your coach and we'll get you connected with, whether you're doing listing calls or buyer calls or whatever it is you're doing, we'll get you connected with the right role play partners in other parts of the country so that you guys can practice together. And if you want more than one, and we recommend that, to have, 2 or 3 different role play partners. And you're doing that same thing, right, Ken?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that way you're mixing it up and you're getting different stuff from different role play partners.
Yeah.
But, another thing you mentioned that, when it comes to, really taking advice from people that have been there and done that, another major part of that, it's like this big mastermind. Well, I say big. It's big in terms of the volume of the agents that have been, the GCI of the agents that are going to be involved, but it's a small mastermind in terms of number of people. But the interesting thing is that everybody in that room has done a lot of business. And so it's really important that when you're doing a mastermind like that, it's, if you want to go to $1 million, you need to be masterminding with people that have been there and right. Be masterminding with people that push you to be better than what you are, not where you're the one doing all the teaching in the room. If you're the one that's doing all the teaching in the room, you need to be in a different room. So
agreed.
Yeah. Well, good stuff. Well, Ken, so if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, whether it's an agent wanted a little bit of advice or if it's a buyer or a seller looking to get their home sold or looking to buy a home, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Well, you can call us at our office number, 425-432-8600, and that's always monitored. You can email me at ken@kencrotts.com. Of course, we get that all the time, and we love to get texts on my cell phone at 206-999-7998. And we're happy to reach out and share what we've learned and help other people avoid the pitfalls of just running down the rocky road and falling down and getting beat up.
Yeah. All right. Fantastic. So there's one last question, and I know you need to go because you need to get dialing for dollars, and I've got to grab another interview. So before I do, there's one last thing I want to talk with you about and have you share with us. As everybody that's watching this probably already knows, our kind of big overriding philosophy at Club Wealth is no success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. Again, that's no success in the world can compensate for failure in the home. So on that note, Ken, I know that you are taking specific days off, and it's funny. We just got off the phone with David Serpa, who literally on Saturday night throws his cell phone in a drawer and doesn't open that drawer up to pick it up again until Monday morning, which is insane. I've never had anybody be that good at it, and I'm not expecting to hear that from you. I'm just curious, how are you ensuring that you're taking adequate time with your family?
I take Saturdays and Sundays off. And occasionally I'll take a call here and there when it's not inconvenient. But I've been doing that for 15 years plus, and it was part of raising my kids. I mean, this weekend we were up in the mountains out of cell range. I don't put on my work clothes, and that's my signal. When I'm in my suit, I'm working. When I'm not in my suit, I'm not working. And and that's it. I don't come into the office and I don't work. I love hearing you say, when I put my suit on, I'm game on. It's like an athlete that goes to play ball. They put a uniform on. You've got a uniform. It's a suit, right? Yeah. And Serpa said the exact same thing. And I'm noticing a trend with a lot of the top producers out there. They're wearing a suit. They're dressing the part. Yeah. I feel weird walking into my office not in my suit.
Yeah.
And I feel weird walking into my office in my work clothes, just coming up here to get a pencil. I'm like, yeah, let's get out of here. I got to go back down to the shop or off to do something.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
I think it's really important to have that balance, because really, what's the benefit of success without balance?
I agree. I agree. And by the
Great.
way, your production didn't go down when you started taking 2 days a week off, did it?
Nobody ever tells me, Ken, you got to work on the weekends. My clients never say that. This is something that we make up in our heads, and then maybe I just have the expectation, and that's it. But no, I never really had a problem. I might have missed a deal or two in all the years I've been taking the weekends off, but wow, that's a pretty small price to pay for 2/7 of my life back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
I agree. Awesome. Well, Ken, we're out of time. I appreciate you taking the time with us today. I know it's a big sacrifice, and I know I'm speaking for all the agents that are watching this right now. We really do appreciate it. And folks, we'll be posting this interview on clubwealth.com under World Class Agent Interviews. And so please take a look and come back, watch more. Take a look at our blog. Got lots of great posts on there as well. Feel free to reach out to us if you want to reach out and schedule a strategy session. All you got to, where you can have free one-on-one contact with one of our coaches and have a one-on-one strategy session to determine where you are now, where you're going, how you'd like to get there, and we'll help you kind of develop a roadmap for that. Just reach out to clientcare@clubwealth.com. Again, that's clientcare@clubwealth.com, or you can call 206-300-1000. Again, that's 206-300-1000. Ken Crotts with the Ken Crotts team, thank you so very, very much for helping us out. And by the way, everybody, if you have anybody looking to buy or sell anywhere in Western Washington, primarily in King or Pierce County, reach out to Ken and his team. They're fantastic.
Yeah, we'd love to take your referrals, and good success to everybody watches this. Hopefully you get something out of it and then can take that into your businesses too.
Right on. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Ken. Everybody have a great day. And remember, you are world class.